All right. Didn't have engagement of the speaker or the microphone. Okay. Welcome to the Patriot Hour. I'm Michael. It's Friday, November 29th. Yes, it's my birthday. I told you guys that last night. So today I don't have much planned. I was going to do a few shows. That's what I want to do. I got family. So, of course, I got family. I got my kids here. We're going to go be doing some things here in a little bit for a couple hours this afternoon. So I thought I'd pop off a show and say thank you guys. I did receive a few tips to the birthday fund, which is down below. Thank you so much for all of you. I got a little birthday cupcake here. Maybe I'll eat later. I'm not really looking for any sugars right now this morning, per se. I got my Liberty LGBT shirt on. If you can see here. Liberty Guns, Beer, and Trump. Thank you to the Berlin family, Jonah and Jeff. They're going to be at the Patriot Fest 2020, by the way. If you are interested in that, I need to add that email down below, so it's kind of just sitting there. But August 14th and 15th of 2020, Patriot Fest, Bristol, Indiana, American Legion, flag retirement ceremony. If you've never seen one, it's something you should be involved in. It's open, free to the public. We're inviting those of you that can make it, that are in the area, that can maybe even plan a little bit to make it. So let us know. The again, email's Patriots with an S, Patriots, Fest, F-E-S-T, 2020 at gmail.com. You get into that pool, we'll be sending back a digital flyer within a month or two. Again, we're way in advance, just getting the word out, and we'll start ramping up. I got videos and promos coming out of last year's event. We actually had Fluid Port Art by Greg join. He was in the area, and this is what kind of got us all talking, and he'll be here at the next one. So he made it last year. This will be the first one that we're actually doing something with it. We're trying to have a live show Friday night out in the pavilion with you guys. We're going to stream the whole event for 2 days. All kinds of great things. So again, all right, let's jump into a few articles again here at the Patriot Hour. If you're new, if you're just kind of jumping in on what we're doing here, never take any, in your own truth seeking, don't take anything anyone says 100%. Do your own research, do your own digging, connect your own dots, land on your own conclusions based off what you can find to be factual, and listen to a lot of people, watch a lot of things, believe none of it until you can verify it. Okay, no more being spoon-fed. The days of auto truth are dead. And don't believe what you believe just because it's how you grew up. Have your own thought. Okay, have your own thought, and do not let them or anybody have that thought for you, which seems to be the case lately. And we've been exposing the fake news media, CNN covering up the whole Epstein, or ABC as well, having the huge story. CNN just being wrong and jumping the gun on tons of other stories in the last couple of years against conservatives without any facts. And but on certain things, they act like they need to hold off, and we couldn't verify. And they don't really verify anything. They just have a narrative from their handlers and the news dumps and the 6 owners that own every single channel available, other than channels like these, and there's many others. But don't think for a minute that the shills aren't here as well. There are propagated channels They know it. If you got these, if the CIA was always looking to embed into the mainstream media, it's an arm. I mean, they got people that are coming out of school, like, you're going to be a great journalist. We got a channel set up for you over at 8 o'clock on CNN. You're going to run that, and we're going to get you in there. We got a guy that's going to get you right in. And then instead of carrying a gun and doing other kinds of work, that's a line of work in those agencies, is to be a propagated news agency of host or be their inside guy. So don't think for a minute they're not here on these platforms. We've seen them before, and literally they come up with a design and try to look as authentic as possible. And sometimes it's just really hard for these no-gooders. It's just too much of a stretch, and you can see it play out. There's several channels, and then there's several people here that are trying to make a channel that are that, and they'll attack other channels. So we don't really engage in that. You guys, that's probably why you're here. We keep it on what we believe to be. I don't have a lot of time for the sideshow circuses that go on, and I just don't engage. Where other channels they've battled back and forth, and that becomes their whole point, I guess. But we would be missing out on so much more good info if that's all we played in. Okay, so here we go. More suspicious events in the Obama's White House. This comes from the Gateway Pundit. So more suspicious events in the Obama's White House connect shift. Suspected whistleblower. And people have been getting banned for saying the name, so I'm just going to say generic Caramella to Soros operatives. What was going on in the Obama's White House? Generic Caramella was close to Barack Obama and many other individuals connected to George Soros. Suspected whistleblower Generic worked in Obama's White House. We reported a couple days ago that on September 7th, 2016, Generic from the Obama administration met with a group of individuals that included executive from a George Soros-connected group. What did they discuss? The meeting included Donald M. Camp, Jessica M. Garay, Bailey S. Holliday, and Russian linguist, analyst, NSA, Michael D. Jarvis, Natalie O. Lowski, Ukrainian linguist, analyst, NSA, Thomas W. Pucci, Stephanie L. Stagg, and Caramello. It appears that Michael D. Jarvis, who attended the Generic meeting on September 7th, 2016, was and still is the executive director of Transparency and Accountability Initiative, TAI, which is funded by Soros Open Society Foundation. Things always lead back to that. TAI has a long history with George Soros, according to the 2011 article that Soros funded Open Society praised TAI for its work. New York, the Open Society Foundation today welcomed the launch of the Open Government Partnership, endorsed by 43 countries. The initiative is an important means by which to encourage governments to uphold the principles of transparency and accountability. And initiative, a donor collaborative decorated empowering citizens to hold their 60 countries to do the same. One of the areas on which TAI focuses is anti-corruption. I'm sure they do. When he worked at a World Bank, Jarvis focused on oil, gas, and mining sectors. It's no secret that Soros was interested in Ukraine's oil, gas, and probably mining sectors, and Obama's Departments of Justice and State were doing all they could to help him take it over. It's no secret that George Soros operates through non-governmental organizations, NGOs, to influence national policy throughout the world. It may be that Generic was acting as a coordinator of some sort through the Soros-linked efforts in the Ukraine and the parallel. We already know that Soros was there doing things at the same time as Manafort. There was 4 people. The only one that really went down was Manafort. And then as they started messing with him, he decided he was going to get in the Trump campaign. Was this the plant? But it was done off the book, off the cuff. In particular, the State Department U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. Here are some connections with Caramello in Obama's White House. So on March 2016, Generic chaired a meeting of following interconnected individuals and groups in room 230B of the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. 1. Gina Latane, Program Associate, Europe and Eurasia, at a Freedom House, many claim is Soros funded, where she was responsible for the media support and civil society programming in the Ukraine. Prior to that, Linton was a program coordinator, Eurasia, program for Soros Open Society Foundations, where she monitored civil society and NGO development in the Ukraine. 2. Elam Aliv, a Ukrainian program director for the Crimean House, was founder of the Crimean Kalter Center in Lviv, which was funded by the Soros-funded International Renaissance Foundation. 3. Maria Deha, based in Norway, is a director of Human Rights House, which is Soros-affiliated and funded. 4. Florian Immiger, Switzerland, the head of the Advocacy for Human Rights House. He was also the treasurer for the Center of Civil Political Rights, which had a partnership with Soros Open Society Foundation, again, and ran the Joint Conference of Corruption and its impact on human rights in the post-Soviet world. In Bern, Switzerland, 26th through the 27th November 2014, on October 31, 2019, Imminger received a Soros Open Societies Foundation New Executives Fund grant, $25,000 to $250,000. Zorian Kiss, a project coordinator at the Freedom House in Ukraine, and received $113,000 Soros grant to support LGBT activities. Right here. LGBT activities. So, where are we at? Number 6, Tatiana, I don't know, Pachiakok. I am the butcher of these names. All right, is a chairperson of the Zimina Human Rights Center in Ukraine. Zimina is funded by the Soros-funded International Renaissance Foundation and Freedom House, listed in the Zimina website. This Pichanok is connected to the Human Rights House, of course. 7. Matthew Schaff is a Freedom House project director in the Ukraine and writes for the Soros-funded Open Democracy. Number 8, Oleg Skypernik is a member of the Crimean human rights group Zimina, the latter being funded by Soros and the Freedom House. March 30th of 2016, Generic met with David K. Meyer, Foreign Service Officer specializing in relationships with strategic partners, including foreign government representatives, domestic and international non-government NGOs. The meeting took place in the White House Situation Room, suggesting a requirement for secrecy. April 11th of 2016, Generic met with number 1, Zalisky Kasky, Freedom House Research Director for Europe, Eurasia, and works on nations in transit. Freedom House Annual Survey of Democracy in the Central Europe and Central Asia. 2. Robert G. Herman, non-resident Senior Democracy Fellow at the Freedom House, specializing in emergency assistance to frontline activists and organizations that have come under threat and multilateral initiatives. 3. Nate Shakan, Director of the Special Research at Freedom House. So the list keeps going on and on. April 15th to 16, Generic met with Sarah E. Silverstein, Assistant Professor History of Human Rights for Migrants at the University of Connecticut, and Timothy D. Snyder, historian specializing in the history of Central and Eastern Europe at Yale University. May 6th, Generic met with, among others, 1. Benjamin L. Schmidt, and he was European Energy Security Advisor, U.S. Department of State. Margaret Rivard, Joint Duty Assignment at the UCOM Branch, Chief U.S. Department of Defense, Office of Undersecretary for Defense Intelligence, Russian, Ukraine linguist. 3. Nathan F. Peters, Department of Homeland Security. The meeting took place in the White House Situation Room, suggesting requirement for secrecy. June 1st and then June 2nd, Victoria Newland, a telephone conversation with Soros and Yvonne Bochsky, CEO of International Renaissance Foundation and Ukrainian NGO founded by Soros. Again and again. June 2nd, Eric Generic met Yvonne, CEO, Soros-funded International Renaissance funded of Jeffrey L. Goldstein, Senior Policy Analyst for Eurasia at George Soros Open Society Foundations in the Eisenhower Executive Office. Wow. Okay, we're almost done here. June 9th, 2016, Eric Camelia met with Caramella met with 1. Matthew E. Q. Edwards, Department of Commerce. 2. Alex Jaworski, International Economist, Department of Treasury, conducted political and economic analysis on a portfolio covering Ukraine. 3. Jonathan Katz, Director of the Ukraine USAID, who we reported on previous, the Gateway. So, 1, what is this going into? 3, I think it goes back to 1. So, Michael L. Lilly, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Europe, Middle East, Africa, EMEA, Department of Commerce. 2. Matthew A. Murray, Senior Advisor, Governance of Rule of Law, USAID, implemented development assistance programs to address risks posed by systemic corruption in critical nations and conflict areas, zones. 3. Elizabeth Urbanus, Director, Europe and Eurasia, Department of Energy. 4. John Van Sant, Senior Policy Advisor and Crisis Coordinator. This meeting took place while the Situation Room, requirement for secrecy. So then we get to June 17th of 16, and Generic Caramello meets Victoria Newland, Assistant Director of the State of European Eurasian Affairs, George R. Pratt, U.S. Ambassador to the Ukraine. The meeting took place in that Situation Room, having a requirement for secrecy. I mean, that's what it suggests. July 5th, Generic met with Jonathan Katz, Director of Ukraine. July 13th, Generic met with him again, Jonathan Katz, Director for Ukraine. And then again on August, Generic met with Jonathan Katz, Director of the Ukraine. So it appears the Obama and Caramello were involved in efforts and to end potential indictments against Soros related to entities in the Ukraine. It's likely the Obama White House did more than that for super donor George Soros. And here again, huge, is this the one? Yeah. Huge Strzok page texts were not unearthed by sharp FBI investigative work. Strzok's angry and scorned wife turned him in after finding text on his phone. So, oh my, the reason the corrupt FBI agent Peter Strzok was caught texting his lover in the FBI, Lisa Page, was not due to incredible investigative work. The reason was the oldest explanation in the book: his jealous and scorned wife. We are only now finding out Peter Strzok got caught with his mistress, Lisa Page, at the FBI. He was ousted by his wife. So it turns out that combined resources of Mueller investigation, FBI did not identify the problematic Strzok page text. It had the most old-fashioned explanation of all: Strzok's wife. So gather round and listen to how chief of the counter-espionage was compromised by his own wife. After confronting hat-trick Lisa, turned over incriminating, terse evidence to the FBI, which would then end up as public spectacle and exploratory digs for the Flynn. So let's see here. I'll pull this up.
One last question, I've got to get your take on this, or a reaction to the fact that we have this new revelation. Remember, we never quite understood why it was that the text messages between Strzok and Page, this affair became public back when it did, when they were removed from the Mueller investigation. Now we learn that it was because Peter Strzok's own wife was able to get to his phone, found the text messages, called Lisa Page, confronted her, and then went to the FBI with the whole thing.
There is some justice in that.
Sidney Powell, thank you so much for coming on with us, and thank you so much for those insights. We wait to hear, with bated breath, the updates in the case.
Want to see more videos like this?
All right, so there you have it, folks. It is hilarious that that's how that went down. But, you know, hey, we don't expect that whole charade of Peter Strzok and his weird way sitting there and just, the guy is nuts. And all because of his wife. That's even makes it a little bit more hilarious even, don't you think? All right, so we're going to end this show here. You guys have a great, what is it? Still kind of not even, yeah, it's only before noon. So you have a great late morning into your afternoon, and I'll be back at some point today. Again, thank you for everything. You guys are some of the greatest Patriots right here, part of the Patriot Hour. Anyone that's new, make sure you're subscribed. Ring that bell. Down below, take a look at all the, you got the website, the email, the links for everything, the articles, and take a look in the comment section. Some of the greatest Patriots ever. They're here, they're writing, they're leaving links. They're just good conversation, actually. So, again, thank you all, and we'll see you back here on the next Patriot Hour. God bless and Godspeed to each and every one of you. Have a great morning into your afternoon.